Welcome back to our channel. Today we bring you the most exciting and dramatic developments in the famous movie Beyond the Gates. Kat never thought that an electronic diary could lead her so deep into the dark area of secrets that seemed to have rotted over time. After the mysterious death that almost took Laura's life, everyone in town fell silent. But that silence was an alarm bell in Kat's mind, an invitation from the depths of the hidden truth. Unable to ignore it, she began to trace each line of data recovered from Laura's old hard drive, with the patience and determination of someone who knew she was facing something bigger than a simple accident. The diary was not just a place for Laura to pour out her heart, but a map of guilt, recording every sign, every word, every small event that Kat had overlooked. Laura spent days following Ted, a man everyone believed to be a gentleman and a gentleman. One rainy night, Laura wrote about seeing Ted emerge from a hotel by the lake, his eyes quickly meeting the woman standing in the shadows, Leslie, Laura's supposed best friend. There was no kiss, no caress, just a look of cold understanding, as if the two had just completed a forbidden ritual. But what left Kat speechless was not the secret relationship between Ted and Leslie that had been hidden behind the evasive glances at parties. It was the suggestive notes in her diary that Laura had planned to expose at the town's annual fundraising gala. Laura had prepared a video, taken from the hotel's security cameras, where she had worked part-time, recording Ted and Leslie leaving within minutes of each other, in the same room, on the same floor. Not enough to convict, but enough to spark a storm of scandal. And then, just 2 days before the gala, Laura suddenly collapsed after drinking her usual herbal tea, the kind that only Leslie gave her every week. Kat didn't believe in coincidences. She began looking for signs that others had missed. The camera at the herbal shop showed that Leslie had purchased an extremely rare plant, Digitalis purpurea, which was known to be the main ingredient in a slow-acting, hard-to-trace poison. Kat sought out a toxicologist, posing as a research student, to ask about the effects of this substance when mixed with tea. The conclusion sent a chill down her spine. If taken in low doses, it would gradually weaken the user, cause an unstable heart rate, and if lucky enough not to die, would fall into a coma or temporary amnesia. Laura had fallen into that state, cardiac arrest for 7 seconds, temporary amnesia, and almost died. Kat knew this could not be an accident. By chance, she discovered Leslie coming to the hospital to visit Laura. But the woman did not bring flowers or an apology, but stood in the corner of the room, her cold eyes observing as if checking to see if her work was complete. The scene was engraved in Kat's mind like a knife wound that could not be healed. Kat did not call the police. She knew she needed evidence, something undeniable. She searched through every purchase order, every camera footage, every old email that Laura had sent but not opened. And then, in an email sent to Laura's secondary inbox, a place that only close people knew, there was an attachment. It was a copy of the video Laura had planned to release. It's unclear why Laura sent it first, but it saved Kat. The video not only shows Ted and Leslie leaving the hotel, but also Leslie standing in front of the door, holding a small bag, very similar to the tea bag Laura used. Kat collects all the evidence, wraps it in a USB, puts it in a sealed envelope and sends it to someone she trusts, a lawyer who used to be an old friend of her mother's. But before anything can be made public, Kat decides to confront Leslie. The encounter takes place in the town's old library, a place that few people go to. Kat leaves a hint in the booking book to lure Leslie there. She presents what she has found, her voice calm but each word like a knife cutting through the other woman's moral mask. Leslie does not deny it. She just looked at Kat with cold, emotionless eyes, as if poisoning a close friend was part of a larger game. She said that Kat had entered a game she was not qualified to play. That what Kat knew was only the tip of the iceberg of a larger secret, where Ted was not just a lover, but also an accomplice, the one who held the key to unlocking the web of lies behind this peaceful town. After the meeting, Kat leaves the library with a new fear, not because she feels threatened, but because she realizes that Leslie is not alone. And Laura's near-death experience may be just the first chapter of a long-term plan, where people like Leslie use poison not only to silence them but also to create power from silence. Kat doesn't know how much longer she can survive if she continues to investigate, but she knows she can't stop. Because if Laura has risked her life to reveal the truth, she can't turn away. From now on, Kat becomes more than just a truth seeker, she becomes a key player in the silent battle between light and darkness that is engulfing the town. Every step she takes, every truth she uncovers, she gets closer to the heart of a nightmare hidden behind moss-covered gates where power, betrayal, and guilt intertwine like a never-ending ritual. After her tense confrontation with Leslie, Kat lives in a state of heightened alert. She begins to notice strange signs around her, a dark shadow gliding past her office window in the middle of the night, the sound of a car pulling up in front of her house and then disappearing. And anonymous messages appearing regularly in her inbox, with just one short line, "Stop while you still can." She knows this is no joke. She is being watched, perhaps even on a list of people to be eliminated next. However, fear does not make Kat retreat, but only makes her more secretive, calculating, and cunning. She begins to map out the connections between the characters related to Laura, Ted, and Leslie. By tracing the suspicious spending of Ted's charity, Kat discovers unusual numbers. Money is withdrawn periodically, transferred to a shell company called Nova East, which is actually an abandoned address on the outskirts of a neighboring city. No one suspects because Ted always maintains a perfect image, a model businessman, a loving husband, a flawless friend. But Kat is suspicious. She goes to the former manager of the hotel where Laura used to work and learns an important detail. 3 months before Laura was poisoned, she was forced to quit after being discovered to have illegally accessed the internal camera system. But what is worth mentioning is that after that incident, no one can contact Laura for 3 days, and when she returns, her eyes are different. As if she saw something too much to bear, but cannot say it. Kat begins to suspect, is Laura simply discovering the relationship between Ted and Leslie? Or is there something more sinister hidden? From vague clues, Kat turns to a living witness, Anna, a nurse who took care of Laura during her recovery period. Anna reveals that, during her delirium, Laura repeatedly called out a stranger's name, Evelyn, and mentioned a locked room in the basement along with the word blood. No one knows who Evelyn is, but that name haunts Kat like a ghost. Kat accesses the hospital system, traces Laura's treatment history, and discovers something terrible. Evelyn was a former patient, admitted to the hospital on the same day as Laura but mysteriously disappeared a week later. There were no discharge papers, no death reports, and, strangely enough, her records had been wiped clean, save for a single note, "Caution, patient linked to anonymous case your ex." Kat knew she couldn't be alone forever. She had to trust someone. The only person she could think of was Jonas, a freelance reporter who had investigated corruption in the town 5 years earlier but had quit under pressure. Jonas, after reviewing the evidence Kat had gathered, agreed to help her dig deeper into the case, and he came up with a theory that made Kat shudder. Evelyn might have been the first victim, and Laura was the only one who knew what had happened in the secret basement that Ted and Leslie might have used for something darker than an affair. Jonas offers to infiltrate Ted's abandoned mansion, a former drug rehabilitation center, before it's sold for charity. They choose the middle of the night, sneaking through rusted fences and through trash-strewn grounds. Behind the worn carpet is a steel door that leads to the basement. There's more than just old cameras and dusty furniture. There's a chained hospital bed, dried blood on the floor, and signs of a struggle. On the wall, a sharp-edged message reads, "Evelyn is watching." Just then, a car horn sounds outside. Someone knows they're there. Kat and Jonas rush out of the scene, not far from the scene, carrying a metal box containing a series of tapes, numbered by date. The tapes reveal a chilling story: interrogations, muffled sobs, a woman's pleading. A cold, steady male voice said, commandingly, "You won't remember anything when you leave here. We have a way." Kat recognized the voice. It was Ted. There's no doubt about it. Laura witnessed part of the truth, perhaps through the camera system, or even that she was the one Evelyn sought out before she disappeared. Laura's poisoning wasn't just to cover up an affair, but to permanently silence any voices that dared to speak out against a dark system of power that had lasted for years. Kat knew she had entered the center of a dangerous maze. But she also knew that no one else could bring light to this place but her. When the newsroom where Jonas worked was suddenly sealed off for internal security reasons, Kat had no choice. She posted the entire data online through an anonymous site, and sent copies to a series of independent investigative organizations. She couldn't stop what was coming, but at least she could make sure the truth wouldn't be buried again. In a dark room, Kat sat quietly at her desk, watching the notifications on her screen. The views were increasing exponentially, calls from press contacts were pouring in. But at the same time, a new message came from a phone number that had never been there before, with just one line. Follow our channel so you don't miss the latest updates on the next dramatic episodes.